Hi everybody, this is Cindy Velasquez with the Maymay Made It design team. I wanted to bring to you and share a project challenge that has been brought to me from Maymay and Shannon over at maymaymadeit.com. The way that the challenge works is that they challenge you to create a project and limit you with some of the products that we would normally use within our craft room. They have sent me the stamp collection named As the Deer. This collection is a beautiful stamp collection that is currently available at maymaymadeit.com. It is a collection and combination of different types of deer and scripture. The envelope that they have provided me says, "Hello Cindy, in this envelope you will find your off-limit challenge rules. Should you choose to accept this challenge, we wish you luck, ! Maymay and Shannon." Within the envelope is a card, and that card states, "Off-Limit Challenge, Cindy Velasquez. The project that they are challenging me to create is a slimline card with dimension. The off-limit products are dies, anything black, scoreboard, bone folder, trimmer, sticky tape, and foam adhesive. These are all products that I use on a regular basis within my craft space. So for me not to use these products can pose a little bit of a challenge, but I am happy, excited, and nervous to create a project that I will share with you. Join me in creating a project and let's see what we can do." Okay guys, I have gathered up a bunch of products that I will be using to create my slimline card with dimension. All of these products do meet the criteria and are not on my off-limits list. So this is what I will be using. My art glitter glue, VersaFine Clair, Distress ink, finger blade, a stamp block, a stamp tool from Fiskars, my As the Deer stamp collection, my Tim Holtz ruler, a solid core black cardstock, and a few sheets of paper from the Mente Wilderness paper collection. This is a beautiful paper collection, and this is part of what I will be using for my slimline dimensional card. Okay guys, the first step is to create a card base. And for those of you that know, Maymay has a wonderful video where she goes over slimline card making on her YouTube channel. And the way that I have gauged all of this is that based on what she has shown us is that a slimline card base is 9 1/4 by 7 1/2. Okay, so using my Tim Holtz ruler, I need the card to measure approximately 7 1/2 this direction and then 9 1/4 this direction. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is line up my paper with my cutting mat to give me a little bit of guidance, and then I'm going to, in this case, since I can't use a paper trimmer, I will not be cutting my card down to size, which is something I commonly do anyways. I sometimes like to score my project, then fold it, and then trim it, because this way I get a nice trim. But in today's case, I can't use a trimmer anyways. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do something very similar. I'm going to go ahead and just fold the cardstock in half. So this cardstock measures 8 1/2, and we're just going to fold that at approximately 4 1/4. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to butt my cardstock up against this edge of my cutting mat, okay, or in this case, I have a magnetic ruler that I'm kind of bumping it up against. You can bump it up against anything. As you can see, I'm just kind of going to line this up right about here. And I'm going to put my finger down in this section, right in the middle, okay? And I'm just going to kind of give it a little crease. And then I'm going to give it another going outward, okay? I'm going to kind of hold it down with my fingers towards me. And I'm going to continue to hold it down, okay? And then I'm going to almost take both fingers and I'm going to go in an outward motion, okay? This will really help in keeping the paper nice and straight. And as you can see, I got a really good straight line there. Okay, and I'm going to take that stamping block, which I had mentioned earlier, and I'm just going to continue to hold my paper, and I'm not going to put a lot of pressure. I'm just going to almost hold it down like a skiing-like motion, and I'm just going to kind of, because I don't want to overly press my paper. I'm not trying to break it, but I just want to give it a little bit more pressure to continue to give a really nice crease. And you know, I'll be quite honest with you, this is actually nicer than a scoreboard. So thank you for challenging me, Maymay, with doing that. Okay, so now that I've folded my cardstock in half, again, this was an 8.5 by 11 cardstock that I folded in half, and I'm going to continue to use my mat as guidance, okay? What I'm going to do now is, again, going back to the measurements, a slimline card base, when it's finished, okay, should be 9.25 by 7.5. So now this will be the interesting part. I love tearing stuff, so I have no problem tearing paper. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to take this, and I know some of you are probably going to cringe, but basically what I'm going to do is use this as my guidance here, okay? And I'm going to butt up my cardstock with my cutting mat, okay? And I'm going to take my ruler, and I am just simply going to take my fingertip, and I'm going to lift it, and I'm going to tear it, and it's going to look fabulous. Because in the old days, this is what cards were made like. And this is, to me, this is beautiful. Okay, so I've torn the bottom, and I'm going to leave it as is. To me, this is just going to be an awesome card that's just going to have a little bit of a rustic flair to it. Okay, and that's just how we're going to do it today. All right, so again, the card should measure approximately 9.25, and as you can see, that would be about here. So I'm going to get my glasses really quick. I hope my head's not in the frame. Okay, but I'm going to line it up with this little cutting mat, approximately about right there. Okay, and as you can see, this is where I'm lining it up. I'm going to measure with my ruler, more or less, where it would be. So approximately here, okay? And you can mark it with the pencil if you want. I'm just going to use my finger, and I'm going to take my ruler and try to do it as flush as I can. And I'm just going to take this paper again, and I am just going to tear it. That's it. Okay, so now we have the measurement going 9.25 from top to bottom. Okay, again, it's a very cool kind of rustic look, which I love. Okay, and then we're going to go with 7, I believe it's 3 3/4 across, and we're going to do the same exact thing. So now I'm going to line up my paper, again, using my cutting mat as guidance. This is where what I'm doing as a lineup, okay? And so it's 3 3/4. And I am going to take my Tim Holtz ruler, which I love, and here's the 3-inch mark, and here's the 4-inch, so 3 3/4 is going to be right about here. And again, I'm just going to use my fingertip, kind of give me some guidance. In this case, actually, I will use my stamping block. So as you can see, I'm lining up my stamping block right about here, okay? And now that I've got this lined up and butt up against my ruler, I'm going to take this and I am going to hold down the ruler really nice and tight though, because this could go south really quick. And I'm just going to tear. And there you go. And this is my beautiful kind of vintage frayed card base. Now, if you don't like this much here, you can always trim it down a little bit more if you want. I don't mind it, so I'm going to leave it. Okay. And you can always trim it down if you want to a little bit more for your envelope or whatnot. But okay, here we go. And because this stamp collection as the deer is such a almost like outdoorsy feel, that I think this is going to work great. Okay. So now that I'm done with that, I'm going to move on and I am going to go to my paper. All right. And I'm going to take a look at my paper and and this is my regular process, you guys, so bear with me. And I apologize in advance if my video is long. But this is how I create. I sometimes even talk to myself. And sometimes I like what I see and sometimes I don't. All right. I like this side and I love this side. So I'm going to take, ooh, that's a tough one. I think I am going to just layer and layer and layer because I can. And because the cool thing about this paper collection is that no matter where you put it or how you do it, it's just gorgeous. So I'm going to continue with my tear. And now that I know kind of where I'm going with it, I am going to just start tearing. Okay, so again, we're going to line up this paper, butt up your ruler, and you're going to tear. And we're going to just you use the bottom of your nail a bit. And sometimes it'll work with you and sometimes it won't. And if it doesn't, that's okay. That's the cool thing about these rustic kind of card making projects, is that it's almost like the less perfect it is, the more attractive and appealing it is. And this paper is, by the way, really great because, as you could see, it's kind of challenging me with getting a super kind of clean cut. And that's okay. So I'm just going to continue to lift as best I can. And sometimes it's a little more difficult when you're working with the true edge of the paper. And we're trying to give it a little bit of guidance. So, you know, that's why we're doing it that way. Okay. And now that I have that beautiful tear, I'm going to take it this way. Okay, I'm going to hold that here because I'm not really measuring. I'm just kind of using everything as a guide. And we're going to hold it like this. Okay, try your best to line things up. It's not going to be easy, but we're going to, again, as you can see down here, there's like a little bit of a guide. And we're just going to hold it about here. And I'm going to just tear it away. You can move your ruler up if you want to finish that trim. Okay. And if it's too wide, which in this case I think it kind of is, I'm going to tear it a little bit more. Now I can kind of move my card base, and I'm going to tear just a bit more because I want it to be a little more narrow. And once you get to tearing, I'm telling you, it's like one of the best feelings ever. It's very liberating. And let me tell you, it is really hard to tear beautiful paper. I have some beautiful paper collections that I won't even cut into, let alone tear. All right, so now that we've kind of slimmed it up a little bit, as you can see, this is kind of, we're going to have a little bit of a framing on the edge. And I'm going to butt it up here, butt this little paper up here, and I'm going to tear in the opposite direction. It's almost like decoupaging, you know, for those of you that enjoy decoupaging. Okay, I'm going to tear this direction. See how pretty that's turning out? And we're going to kind of remove this little edge that I don't personally care for. And if you need to flip, you could flip stuff, whatever works for you. This is one of the cases where my cutting mat is really coming in handy. Okay, and as you can see, the card's about here. So I'm gonna butt my ruler up one more time, kind of where I want it. And you can lift your paper up, take a look at the back. You want it there, and then go ahead and rip. Okay, and I personally love this. Okay, so I'm gonna leave this like that. And I love this wood, as you could see. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the exact same thing, but I'm gonna just flip my paper. And this time I'm just gonna take, see, as you can see, this is kind of what it's gonna look like, and we're already layering, we're creating those dimensions. I'm not even gonna move anything. I'm just gonna, all I'm gonna do is kind of use my existing setup and give myself a little bit of guidance. Okay, so this is about the same distance I want on the opposite side. And I'm gonna just go ahead and pull again. Look at how pretty that is. And I'm going to move my ruler up slightly to get all the way to the end of that paper. Okay. Now, there are some special tear rulers out there, and you're welcome to look for them. I've owned a few myself and have really enjoyed using them over the years. But you know what? I'll be honest with you. Whether you buy that kind of a ruler or you use, you know, in my case right now, I'm using the Tim Holtz ruler. And it's working perfect. It's giving me a really, really nice kind of a trim. Okay. And I think that looks pretty good. I mean, it's a little, yeah, there we go. And you're going to see how this is all going to come together. Okay, then I'm going to line it up over this direction. Okay, I'm going to pull it down a little bit so I'm kind of staying in frame for all of you. So I'm going to pull it down about right there. Again, really using my cutting mat as a guide. Okay, line that up, put it here, and tear away. That's it. Okay, as you can see, we've got 3 layers going so far, and we are not done yet. Okay, I love this. I love the way this is turning out. All right. One of the scenes in the Wilderness collection that caught my eye is this beautiful paper. And again, I have a hard time cutting into such gorgeous paper. You know, you can even cut like this gorgeous flower out, which I don't think they limited me to using scissors. They said no paper trimmer, but they didn't say fussy cutting, so we can even add that. But this particular area here is what I want, because this is, I think, more what I'm wanting for the particular stamp collection. So I'm going to cut this out and wish me luck. Okay, so right now I'm going to turn this paper around and I'm going to just kind of line it up and give myself a little bit of guidance. And there's like a little, I don't know if you can see it, but see, there's this little camping kind of a tent, and I don't need that camping tent. So what I'm going to do is line up my ruler right where the camping tent ends. And because really what I'm looking for is more the wilderness part of it. And I'm just going to, again, do what I've been doing, which is just tearing away. Okay. No rhyme or reason. Gorgeous. Okay, perfect. And as you could see, this is giving me that beautiful little kind of wilderness look. Okay, and I love this little mountain area, so I'm going to trim right about up here. tear that. Okay, see how that's turning out? Okay, and then I'm going to trim right about here. Now, if you did not want to do something two-dimensional, you could even just do this, like, you know, just do this piece, and it would be just beautiful, you know, with the tear card base that we've done. But we're layering and layering and layering. And I'm going to tear off this little edge right about here. Awesome. Okay. Now, something that someone once taught me, or I might have seen it somewhere, is see how this is centered here? You can leave it here, or you can even tear it in half, okay? And you can pull it a little further out. There's so much that you could really do with it, but I think I'm going to, this is a tough one because I want to pull it out this way. I think I'm going to leave it where it's at, and I'm just going to do it that way. And then this mountainous kind of image here, yeah, I'm going to leave that where it's at. And then we're going to stamp it, and we're going to finish it off. All right, guys? I just love this. This is beautiful. Okay, so with that said, we're going to move this to the side. We're going to be working with this image now, and I'm going to be working with the VersaFine Clair, and this particular color is called Fallen Leaves, and this is a beautiful ink. It really is. You know, you can emboss with it, you could do lots of things with it, but I can already tell it's going to be one of my immediate favorites. And one of the things that Maymay talks a lot about is seasoning stamps. Before I go into that, I want to show you what I do, what my process is. Before I remove the stamp from the sheets, I kind of look at my project and I hold my stamps over and kind of say, where would I put this? And as you could see, I definitely want to use the larger deer, and I'm going to use the smaller deer, and I'm going to kind of place one up here and one down here, okay? And going back to what I was saying is that, well, I forgot what I was saying. Oh, well, we'll figure it out when we get there. Okay, so, there might not, okay, we're going to kind of layer into each other because as you can see, these two right here, these stamps, and you can go a little outward if you want. I think that would be actually okay. But, I'm going to try to keep this particular deer in the full image here, and then this one I'm going to pull out a little bit outward, which I'm okay with. Okay, and I like to put my stamps kind of downward like this, and then I take my block and I can take the entire project. But what I think I'm going to do, instead of trying to stamp both of them at the same time, is I'm going to stamp one at a time, just to ensure that this is turning out the way I want. Oh, now I remember what I was saying. Okay, so Maymay always talks about seasoning your stamps, and I have found that that is a very, very good idea. And I just take a piece of scratch paper, okay, because it really does work. So take a piece of scratch paper. You want to take your stamp block, and look at, this is a beautiful ink. I don't even think I need to season it, but you know what? Let's just do it because it's the right thing to do. Look at that. On the first go, gorgeous. Okay. So I'm going to turn this around, continue with what I'm doing, ink it up. Okay. And we're going to kind of use your mat as a guide just to keep the project straight. And I'm going to stamp it right about there. Now, something that Maymay covers in some of her videos is to not be too anxious to lift your stamping block. You want to allow enough time to allow the ink to transfer. Put a decent amount of pressure, not heavy, of course, but just enough pressure that you're leaving a really good image, okay? And once you have done that, you're just going to try to do a straight lift. And there you go. That's my first stamp, okay? The next one is going to be the smaller, so I'm going to use the same stamping block. I'm going to remove this stamp and put it aside in a safe spot. And I'm going to ink it up. And you guys, I gotta tell you, I have been eyeballing this stamp collection for quite a while, and I love it. And I'm just gonna kind of, just to season. Look at that, isn't that gorgeous? Okay, I think it's gorgeous. And remember, I said I might go off of the paper a bit. Just put a little piece of paper back there in case you decide to stamp off, and that way you're not kind of making a mess on your cutting mat. Okay, and I'm going to hold that down. And I usually count like for 10 seconds, and then I lift it. That's it. That is beautiful. All right, guys, so that's where we're at right now. And what we're going to do now is we're going to add a sentiment. And in the meantime, for adhesive, I'm going to use a hot glue gun. So I'm going to turn on my hot glue. And we're going to let that heat up. While my hot glue gun heats up, I'm going to take a look at some of these sentiments and see which one I prefer. Alright guys, I picked a beautiful sentiment, and I'm going to put that right up here because it's so beautiful. And I'll show you guys when it's all done. And something I kind of do sometimes to line up my stamps, just to kind of center them up a bit, is I put them on the cutting mat, I line them up, and I pick it up that way. And we're going to continue to use this ink here. Again, we're going to stamp on a piece of paper here first, make sure we like it. Stamp, stamp, stamp. Or ink, ink, ink. Bring down my project, line it up. Okay. And I'm going to put that right about, well, let me see, because if I do it right about here, right, I'm going to put it right about here, and you'll see why. I'm going to hold it down. Make sure it all transfers over. And there you go. And I'm going to bring it up so you can kind of see what that looks like. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take that distress ink that we were talking about, and we are going to ink the edges of everything. And we're going to just take this rustic to another level. This is the cool thing about paper tearing, is that there's no rhyme or reason and distressing. And this is a beautiful card, like for sympathy or a masculine look. And the paper is gorgeous. So if you don't have this paper collection, go grab it, because it's definitely a must-have. And this just takes card making to what it really used to be, is just being creative and not being perfect with anything, just handmade, you know. You can't go wrong. Okay, so far though, while I glue this, I just want to make sure I've covered my bases. Okay, so what I am not supposed to use, again, were dyes. I haven't used any of that. I haven't used any black ink. No paper trimmer. No bone folder, no sticky tape, no foam adhesive, and yeah, we're doing good. Okay, guys, so I'm going to put away my inks. Whoops. Let's move those to the side. Okay, and we're going to start. Whoops, did I get that one? Yep, I sure did. Okay, we're going to start gluing down. So I'm going to take my art glitter glue, and I'm going to put it on this side. And it just takes a little bit of our glitter glue. Okay. And I like to kind of hold mine up a little bit to give me a good idea that it's centered. If you want to stand above your project and do it that way, that's fine too. I'm just going to do it like this. And I think right down here, I'm going to cut just a bit. Like right in here, you can trim a little bit if you want, but I think it looks okay. Yeah, I'm going to leave that. Okay, and then the next one is going to be this one here. But okay, guys, the hot glue gun has heated up, and now we're just going to go ahead and continue on with our card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a few things to add dimension. I have a little piece of like a Berber ribbon, and I'm going to go ahead and start layering things up a bit. So what I'm going to do is I cut the trim a little rustic looking, and I'm going to take the hot glue gun and I'm going to put some hot glue right about here, and right about here, and right about here. And I'm going to add, as you can see, I'm adding a pretty good amount because I want to make sure that this kind of stays a little up like. And this is really hot, so if you want to just use like maybe, you know, my clear acrylic, I will use that. Kind of stick it down a bit, make sure it doesn't go anywhere. Okay, and that way you're not touching the hot glue. And it's pretty stuck, so I could put a little bit more like right about here, but I'm going to leave it. Okay, next thing I'm going to add is this here. Now, if I were to just add it like this, you'll see that this side's going to stick up like this. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add glue here. I'm going to let it dry, and then I'm going to add another bit of glue. So I'm kind of layering up a bit. We're going to put glue here, and here, and here, okay? And I'm going to go back again, because again, we're kind of creating a little bit of a riser effect to add dimension. And then here, and here, and here. All right. And we're going to use this one. We're just going to kind of place it more or less where we want. And I'm going to put a little bit more pressure on the right side, not necessarily the left side. Okay, because the left side, you kind of want it a little high. Okay, just kind of tacked, but not pressed down. All right, and as you can see, we're giving that card dimension. Okay, Next one is going to be our beautiful deer image. And we're going to do similar, but we're just going to place it in this case here, here, and here. Okay, you can also do the corners if you want. But again, it's all about adding that glue kind of in generous amounts. Like, give your glue a good squeeze, because you want it to give your card dimension. Okay. And we're going to center that card right about there. And again, don't put a lot of pressure. It's not about pressure, it's about dimension. Okay. So far, so good. And then one last touch that I'm going to do is I'm going to take a nice piece of sheer ribbon. I'm going to slide it into the card. And this goes back to, I'm going to kind of lay it flat. Let's make sure it's flat on the inside. Okay. This goes back to why I put my sentiment on the right, because I knew that I thought I was going to add some dimension. And I'm going to just kind of pull it towards me. And this is about where I want my ribbon, up high up there. Okay, and it can be any ribbon you have. I chose sheer because I just thought it would be pretty, and plus because this way we're not covering that beautiful stamp set, that beautiful deer that we added. Okay. And I know everybody ties their ribbons differently, but this is what works for me. I worked at a fragrance bar a long time ago, and someone taught me how to make ribbons like this, and I appreciated that because it stayed in my brain forever and ever. And I just put it right through here, kind of holding it down with my rear fingers. And I'm going to pull all the way till it's nice and tight, and then I'm going to pull it back. Kind of play with it a little bit until I get the desired size that I want. But it's also a good way of saving ribbon, because we all know ribbon can get kind of pricey. All right. And I like my ribbon kind of tight, so pull this up just a bit. And I'm going to just chop this. You can cut your tails on your ribbon however you want. It's sheer, so it doesn't make too much of a difference. All right, guys. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed the process. This is my card. It is definitely dimensional. Let's go over everything one more time. I did not use any dies. I did not use anything black. I did not use a scoreboard. I did not use a bone folder. I did not use a trimmer. I did not use sticky tape. I did not use foam adhesive. And look at the dimension in that card. Isn't that beautiful? You guys, I seriously challenge you to create something outside of your boundaries and maybe do away with some of the stuff that we've grown so dependent to use, because this is a beautiful card and whoever receives it is gonna simply love it. So here you go. This is my card, and thank you, Maymay. Thank you, Shannon, for challenging me to create something new and different. And all I need to do now is just put a small piece of paper on the inside and, you know, write a sentiment. So here you go. Thanks, and have a great weekend. Have a great day, and God bless.